This is a TalkStation original podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack now.
We are going to look back, even though the new year has started, on 2025 and what the biggest stories of the year were. We're going to do it, as always, David Letterman style, go from 10 to 1. We don't have Paul Schaefer in the background doing the drum roll, but we'll work without that. Number 10, according to the Carteret County News-Times, biggest sports stories of 2025 was county boats winning some big tournaments. We had the Barber B. We went up to the White Marlin Open in Ocean City, Maryland. That is a ginormous tournament, and they got the Blue Marlin winner. They didn't get the White Marlin winner, which in that tournament is weird because you can catch like a 100-pound White Marlin and win ginormous amounts of money, as opposed to what they caught, which was a almost 930-pound blue, but that still got them plenty of cash, like $1.2 million. The Atlantic Beach-based boat, Hunter Blount, and that gang. And then we had Builder's Choice, and Captain Brent Gaskell and his crew went down, or went east, I guess I should say, to Bermuda, and for the second time in 3 years, man, won the Bermuda Triple Crown, and also took home a very nice payday, close to $500,000. So, Mr. Nally, what do we think about these two boats performing well outside of the state?
Yeah, you just brought up Brett Gaskell, and you just ran a story recently. Harkers Island native was named the In the Bite magazine Captain of the Year of the Release Marine International Division. Boy, you hit it. They've also third Bermuda Triple Crown in the last 2 years. Just an unbelievable performance by that boat. It's really nice. I think as Big Rock's reputation climbs, as Morehead City's, as Carteret County's destination, as a fishing destination and reputation that it has grows, I think seeing local boats perform well on an international level only helps to solidify that. I think it's great, not only for them, but for, you know, our home and its place as a fishing paradise.
Yeah, you mentioned that story we ran on Brent. Man, they've been killing it of late, right? That's 2 out of the last 3 Bermuda Triple Crowns. They were, third in Big Rock, 2 years ago?
That's right. That's right.
They've won the Kelly Wagner.
Well, they were third, but it was one of 3 boats to win $1 million, I think, right?
Right, that was the big,
Yeah, that was a special year.
Big three,
Yeah.
1 million. You're right, and I think they won the Kelly Wagner. They've won. I think they won Pirates Cove. I think they were like runner-up in the Billfish Series 1 year. I think they were runner-up in like the Swansboro. What's that, Rotary? Man, they've just been rolling.
Yeah, that's a boat name that when you see it hook on a fish during Big Rock Week, there's a chance it's going to come in.
And the Barber Bree, of course, they've been around for a minute and have had a lot of success over the years too. They the coolest thing about that story was, Hunter Blount was telling me about how it took that was almost a grander, and it took him 14 minutes to get in the boat.
Sometimes it goes quick. Sometimes it takes 6 hours. That's crazy.
It could be one or the other, right? All right, number 9 on our list was a lot of firsts, and we just instead of singling out anybody because we had so many firsts this year, we just threw all of them under the umbrella of number 9. One of them was Jannar Bryant, who is a former East Carter track and field athlete who went to Mount Olive and in year 1 became an All-American. That is not a thing we've seen a lot of in Carteret County. Definitely not from a freshman. And said that was the first freshman to ever earn All-American status at the college level. She was a runner-up as well, national runner-up. I don't think we've ever seen that before either. Speaking of things as hard to believe we never had, just considering the amount of track and field talent we've had, Josiah Jones becoming the first male athlete to ever win a long jump state champion, which when you consider the talent that we've had in this county,
that's kind of incredible. Yeah.
I put it out there and was sure somebody was going to come back at me and be like, oh no, you're wrong, so and so did it, and whatever. No, man, he's it.
And he blew the competition away when he did that too.
Right. Yeah. What he did it in
it was 3 inches more than the runner-up at the state meet, and then in the spring he got a second medal, and he was more than a foot longer than the second place finish. That's not
poor competition.
It's not squeaking by.
That's a little demoralizing.
No doubt.
We had Pierce Mankey from Croatan win a national championship. Now we've had some national champions in the past, John Crossley and Tyler Collins, obviously at West Carteret. But definitely never had one that won a national championship in a sport that does not even exist. in Carteret County, and Pierce is one of those guys who's not great at one thing, but really good at a lot. And he won the decathlon at the national championships at North Carolina A&T. You know, had been practicing some of that stuff that he wasn't competing in at the high school level, like javelin and stuff like that, and pole vault and all these other different events. And so that's what he's going to do at the college level. Then we had Elizabeth Parker at West Carteret becoming the first girls tennis player to ever win a regional, and then went on to state and finished in the state semifinal. Finished 17-1. The only match she lost all year long was in the state semifinal. Oh, by the way, she's just a freshman.
Wow.
And then East Carteret, for the first time in the history of that school, the girls team won a regional title.
Yeah, I mean, we love to see young people come in and do special things. I mean, you mentioned Josiah Jones, Pierce Mangy. These are people that we've seen their names in the headlines before. They've done some really fun things over their high school career. But a freshman like Elizabeth Parker coming in and having that kind of success, it just makes it more fun to imagine what else could come over the next 3 years. You know, if you're
Absolutely.
if you're a fan of that program.
Her and Miss Bryant will be checking in, won't we?
Absolutely.
Number 8 is the Kraken of Carteret Community College. I struggled whether to put this in our top 10 because nothing really happened.
No, it's just like it's a step forward, right? You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it hasn't actually happened yet, but
that's right.
I mean, they've solidified the fact. So it's men's baseball, women's soccer, and men's and women's cross country.
I always think it's funny that they say men's baseball, but I think it's because it's always third after women's soccer and women's cross country, and they feel like they need to make sure people don't think it's going to be women's baseball as well.
Right. Just to be clear, yeah. Well, and I like that there's a balance here. There's 2 sports for men, there's 2 sports for women, and you know, there's community college sports is not a new thing, but and even here in Morehead City, we had community college sports back in the day. But it's really great to see it returning. I think they're already hiring. They've already hired their athletic director. They're hiring coaches, I'm sure, getting close to it, and it's going to be really exciting. I know you weren't in love with the mascot when it first got announced. Not a ton of Kraken in our ocean. But you know,
Brett Gasco and Hunter Blau aren't fishing for Kraken out there.
They are not. But I understand. It's a fun mascot. I'm excited to see what kind of marketing things they do with that. You know, we get a lot of cool stuff with our Mariners and our Patriots and our Cougars, but you know, it'd be interesting to see how maybe they'll have a big Kraken mascot out there. Who knows?
I guess you look at it like it's like Christmas. It's for the kids, right?
That's right.
You said they've been hiring. They've already hired athletic director Scott Lane. He was the vice president of finance and administrative services for the school. And they were officially recognized by the National Junior College Athletic Association as becoming a member. They'll compete in Region 10. And if my memory serves right, Region 10 is like Pitt Community College and Brunswick's in that maybe, and Lenore maybe. I can't remember all of them. So, you know, be cool that kids won't have to. I mean, my gosh, how many times have we seen kids that we covered that went to Pitt or Lenore or Brunswick, and now
Well, you know what? You bring up something though and I'd be curious to see how it shakes out. How many of the student athletes that will be part of those programs are actually coming from Carteret County? Yeah, I don't think it's a given that it's only going to be those kids. We send kids to Pitt. We send kids to Cape Fear. We happen to be at the beach, a beautiful campus. There are people that are going to want to come here to play. And I'm just so curious how many of the student athletes that, you know, maybe don't have a chance to play somewhere else or are choosing to stay here to save money on education. I'm fascinated to find out how that is going to, you know, how many kids have been on the fence for playing participating in athletics at the secondary level and just haven't had an opportunity, or the opportunity didn't line up correctly. And does this open that door for that group of student athletes?
I'm Brian North from News Channel 12, News and Sports Anchor, and you're listening to the Paper Boys podcast.
We're not exactly sure where soccer and cross country are going to compete, but we do know baseball will compete at Big Rock Stadium's Puck O'Neill Field. And talk about a segue. Number 7 on the list of top 10 stories of the year is the team that currently plays at Big Rock Stadium's Puck O'Neill Field. That would be your Morehead City Marlins. And the number 7 story was, are there still going to be Morehead City Marlins? There's been some contentiousness between the city and owner Buddy Bingle over things they want, things he wants. They're not exactly on the same page. And they met, I think, in September at the council meeting about trying to get on the same page to negotiate agreement to sign the lease. And that was September, and we haven't heard anything since then. I don't know what things are like behind the scenes. If I did know, I don't know if I would say it publicly, but I don't know. What do you think there, Mr. Nally?
Yeah, this is a contentious deal. I mean, what, the contract is supposed to end, or the current license agreement runs until the end of August next year. I mean, or this year. So what? This is the last season?
Yeah,
Is this
yeah,
it?
you're right. August the 3rd, August 2026. So yeah, it could be the final countdown, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the product itself, as far as college baseball, has been expanding. They had the new uh, team in Greenville. They had
Mm,
two new programs in Jacksonville, one with the Old North League and one with the
yep.
Coastal Plain, or maybe just the one of those.
The
Um,
Ospreys, right?
that's right. That's right. It's
And
certainly
and the
expanding.
Greenville's the Yard Gnomes.
What's a great name? Publicly voted, I think, name, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. The Marlins have been here for what now?
2015.
So 10 years.
No,
Wait,
2010. My bad.
I was gonna say I thought it was 15. So 15 years feels like a staple
Yeah,
of this community.
they've
You
they've
know,
won they've won how many championships?
well, for a
Two.
long time they didn't,
Yeah,
and then there was the run right before COVID,
yeah,
and then through COVID where they had, and really since then they've been a stalwart of that league. I don't think, unfortunately, the success of the program does not play a role
right.
in the business agreements between the two sides. Um, you know, I think if you're Buddy Bengal and you are representing your organization, you have to fight for what you think it deserves and what you think your product can do to expand. And I think if you're Morehead, you know, there's a lot going on in that town right now, and I think both sides kind of have a justified sort of approach to the situation. It's tough, man. I feel for both sides. I think it would be tough to lose the Marlins in Morehead City. Um,
Absolutely.
I don't think there's a positive lining to that.
No, I think that's
But
a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose if they leave, right?
it feels like a lose-lose. I mean, 15
Yeah.
years is a long time. But like you said, that facility is going to be used no matter what.
Yeah, and in the story we ran, we talked about how Morehead City's already mentioned that they've already been reached out to by some other summer leagues, woodbat leagues. So if the Marlins left, I don't think the seat would stay cold very long.
No, not at all.
Number 6 on our list was a very melancholy 6.
Oh,
West Carter
sure.
football lost 4 family members this year. D.A. Ballou, who we just love to listen to over the PA system, he passed away at the age of 52. He had been the PA guy for about 20 years. And then, kind of ironically, the 2 coaches who served together at West and were apparently pretty tight back in the day, Bruce McBride passed away in May. He was 77. And then George Vyrick passed away in March, and he was 83. So you're talking about a couple of months apart, and they served together at West Carteret and East Carteret. And then Jim Brett, who was only at West for 1 year, but won state titles at Tarboro, at West Brunswick. He's in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame, and won state titles like people chew gum at Tarboro, including track and field coach. I think he won 4 track and field state championships at Tarboro, and won a football state champion. Then went to West Brunswick and won a couple more, just to show you that it wasn't because I was at Tarboro. It's because I know what I'm doing. He won 200 games in his career, and I remember I did the stories on Bruce McBride and George Vyrick, and it's one of the things I dread doing the most as a sports reporter at the Carter County News Times, but also something weirdly, I guess, to say enjoy would not be the right word. I guess fulfillment or satisfaction,
Mm.
knowing that you're kind of writing somebody's major obituary and getting to send them off, the way they deserve, and talking to former players and fellow coaches. I talked to David Perry, who, he's carrying on the legacy of people like Gordy Patrick and George Vyrick and Bruce McBride, who, he played under, and talked to some other guys that had played football underneath them, and just the way they talked about these guys and the way people talked about DA just in glowing terms and what they meant to the program and the community was pretty special.
Yeah, you have to go through those firsthand accounts because, unless you're there, unless you're part of that culture, unless you were, there to see their journey, the impact they had, it's really hard to take a look at stats or, okay, they coached here for 10 years. What does that really mean? And I think
Right.
about the coaches that we've covered and the work they put in. Of course, we, experienced this firsthand when Craig McClanahan passed away. We got very close
Yeah.
to his story and the impact that he had on the community. And yeah, it's really nice that people are willing to talk about their colleagues, their friends, their family members, and allow us, like you said, to document their who they were and the impact they had.
We love DA because he had his staples. Shout out to the chain gang. Shout out to the gang. Cooking up hamburgers. Shout out to the cheerleaders down there.
Absolutely. It made sure that everybody that was part of it got recognized.
Bruce McBride, kind of his claim to fame was they beat West Carteret in 1985. That was the first time they beat him in 16 years. It would be another 25 years before they would be Havelock. So if it wasn't for Bruce McBride, you're looking at 40 years without
And then
them.
another how who knows however many years between then and now.
And George Vyrick is a special case in that he's the only guy to head coach at both East and West. Also, the only guy to coach mullet bucket victories on both sides. And he had a really good career. So yeah, West saying goodbye to four guys in 1 year, calendar year, is super tough. Number 5, speaking of West Carteret, a kid who went there once upon a time, Mr. Cooper Webb. He's been on the
Big
top
year.
10. I think he's been on the top 10 probably 80% of the year since he was probably like 5 years old.
Well, yeah. It's an athlete like a professional athlete, someone that's come up in the sport the way he has. I mean, it's not like he's a participant in his industry. He's a pretty big front runner year after
Yeah,
year.
he is one of now only 7 riders in the history of Supercross
See,
to win 3 championships. I mean, how about that, man?
see,
Little kid out of Carteret County, man, just hitting the
unbelievable.
big time. One of the best in the world.
In fact, I
Um,
just saw someone the other day wearing an Action T-shirt. It made me think of that old tracked out in front
nice.
on 70, and just you think about like driving by and seeing him making those jumps at 5, 6 years old, and where he's gotten to now. It's just insane.
And if that wasn't big enough, I mean, he would have made the top 10 list just off that alone. But then also decided to become a track owner, bought a track in Lincoln County, Iron Station, Top Gun MX Park, and going to get that up and running again. And is excited. I think he bought. I think the listing was for like
That's right.
$650,000, and he talked about how excited he was to get everything going and get some motocross action going in that part of the state, and obviously a seamless transition for him, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is sort of the give back part of the career, right? Where you start to say, how can I revitalize this sport in areas where maybe it used to be a thing and it's faded, or maybe they've never been exposed to it before. And obviously, being in the industry, he can find those opportunities. And I'm glad, I think it was a development that had the potential already to kind of be what that vision is for the track, and then just need someone with the pockets to be able to acquire it and the know-how to know how to turn it into, something successful.
Number 4 on our list was East Carteret baseball, which kind of took eastern part of the county by storm this last spring. They were the first, if you want to count the modern era, since West Carteret and East come on the scene in the mid '60s to finish a regular season undefeated in baseball. They went 24-0, then won the first 2 playoff games. They were 26-0, came to a unceremonious end in the 3rd round with a loss, so they finished 26-1. But man, that was it was funny to cover that this spring because as you know, once they hit about 20, crowds really started to get
I
bigger and
bet.
bigger and bigger. And by about the last 5 regular season games and in the playoffs, man, it was packed out there.
I think that's the most fun part of the job as a sports reporter is you're there all year. Each win that goes by, you're like, wow, this is pretty impressive. I think of Croatan soccer that year that it went to the state title and how
Right.
a couple games left in the regular season, suddenly those stands started filling up. By the second round of the playoff game, it's a crowd wrapped around the fence, and it's a lot of fun to watch people respond positively to a team doing well. And man, you see it in the quote in your story. even though they lose in the third round, I just don't think that's not going to be the thing that those kids remember when they're
Yeah,
in their 40s. It's the undefeated run. I mean, how much fun each win was, and you ask a lot of athletes what they're going to miss about sport, and it's oftentimes the time they spend with their friends, the dinners out, the bus rides, and how much more fun are those things when you're 14 and 0 and 20 and 0 and 26 and 0. I mean, I just what a time it must have been for those guys.
good call on the Croatan comparison too, because they did go undefeated that year
Oh,
on the
that's
road
right.
to win.
The
Yeah,
COVID
state
year,
title.
2021.
What,
That's right.
what were they, like 18 and 0? I want to say something like
Yeah,
that.
because it was a short year because of
That's
the
right.
shortened season, and it would have been in the spring along with
Yep.
everything else.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I remember I think it was the second round. I think when I looked around and I thought, holy cow, this is the most people I've ever seen in a soccer game.
The thing about this East run is kind of the year ahead of where
Sure.
people thought they would be. I mean, the one senior on the team, they bring back just about everybody, and they've had some kids that had some monster years. Eli Jenkins led the state in stolen bases. You had Jonathan Piner, who was another great hitter for them. He's a junior. Junior Brian Hatter had a big year. I think he was fourth in the state in wins. Then had some
About
really good
two
freshmen too.
freshmen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tanner Wade ties for fourth in the state and wins, tied for 10th in ERA. Freshman Chase
yeah.
Roberson tied for 17th in the state in stolen bases. I mean, are
I
there
mean,
any expectations
I
that
mean,
fall below a state title when you come in this season? I can't imagine.
we before their seasons began, me and you had we had the West Carter volleyball team come in because that
Uh-huh.
was the year
Uh-huh.
because they were all seniors. We had the Croatan lacrosse team come in because
You knew
that
that
was
was
the year
happening.
they were.
Absolutely.
I mean, that would be this year for East, but they kind of did it when they were all juniors and sophomores and freshmen, so kind of a year ahead of schedule there.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's got to be probably one of the biggest expectation stories for 2026, right?
Absolutely.
Hi there, this is Brian Hanks with the Brian Hanks Show from Kinston, North Carolina. You are listening to the Paper Boys Podcast with JJ and Zack.
Speaking of teams and county teams having big years, number 3 on our list was Croatan football. And if East baseball took the county by storm in the spring, man, Croatan football took the county by storm in the fall. Had the best year and close to. They've been a program for almost 30 years and did a lot of things they'd never done before. Beat Havelock, and not only did it once but twice for the first time ever. Had never been to the third round of the playoffs. They got to the fourth round. Had never started a season 4-0 before. They started 6-0, and it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And the names were, became synonymous with the Carter County News Times sports pages of Camden McBride and Andrew Boucher and Riley Robinson and all those great kids on the defense. And man, what a year for Croatan football.
Yeah, no kidding. And we just talked about expectations, and I caught some flack here on this podcast for and feeling more excited about what Croatan football could do with its new quarterback coming into this season than I was about Croatan lacrosse, which may also have a spot on this list here. Uh, but no, I mean, you kind of when you watch these seasons, we watch these programs year after year have their cyclical moments, and you can feel when something's about to line up.
Yeah.
When there's going to be a change that comes in, and I was fortunate, even though I was no longer with the paper in July, I had a chance to cover I think 3 games with Croatan.
Mm.
So Havelock game, the Northside game, and I can't remember the third game. Just a lot of fun to watch, man. You don't you don't get a whole lot of um, I don't know. I don't want to say winning football. We've had our chance. We've had our fun covering teams that have done well. But there was something a little bit different this year. I mean, you mentioned it, the win over Havelock, the really close loss to Northside Jacksonville. I mean, it was some of the best teams in the state. I mean, this Croatan was right in the mix.
Yeah, they lost 2 games this year, and those 2 teams played in the East Regional Final
Yeah, come on. I mean, what kind of
and
that's a
lost
special
and lost those
season.
2 games by a total of 5 points.
Absolutely. And it does
Yeah.
come down to, I think the thing that was mentioned at the beginning of 2025 by me was the excitement of seeing Cannon McBride under center. And he was fantastic. He was third in the state in completion percentage. tied for ninth in quarterback rating. I mean, this is insane. Fourth in points, eighth in PAT percentage. Uh, as great as he was, JJ will be the first to tell you that this is true behind the scenes. I think I was just most impressed with Andrew Boucher. I thought he was, I remember when he came in as a freshman, he was a tiny guy. A lot of people were like, "Hey, didn't his brothers play soccer? Isn't he a pretty good soccer player?
Right.
Why would he play running back in varsity football?" And a couple years later, boy, how stupid do those people look? Yeah, this kid was insane. Fourth in the state in total touchdowns, eighth in rushing touchdowns, 24th in rushing yards. And, you know, Croatan had a quarterback that could throw it. They had a receiver, Riley Robinson, that could catch it. But I do think that offense ran through its run game, and having that dependable back there, that dependable running back there made a big difference.
And that was the year. I mean, they were super senior heavy. Probably like 90% of the team was seniors. So we'll see
True.
what they can do coming back. But man, it all lined up just perfectly. And what a
It was a lot of fun to
phenomenal
watch.
season. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, we'll stay with the Cougars and a team in the spring. Lacrosse team won a state title, and we had those guys in before the season because that was going to be the capital T, capital H, capital E year. And man, they fulfilled the promise. We had to have them back on when the season ended because they won a state title. And you and I did a podcast when you left the paper to go join the town of Newport, where you were the first ever Parks and Recreation director. And we did kind of a farewell pod to at least us being coworkers. And we did the top 10 games we had covered. It wasn't necessarily the biggest or maybe even the
Special
best,
moments.
but
That's right.
yeah, the most memorable to us. And man, mine this went to the top of my list
Yeah,
because
you got to revise that list now.
yeah, that was number one because a state title game that came down to the last few seconds. I mean, how can that not be number one on your list? They won 13-12 over a team that had won three in a row. So you had a little bit of David Goliath action going there, and yeah, just a phenomenal season. They only lost two matches the whole year. Mache Roth fired a pass to Dane Sparks, and he fired it in the net with I think it was like 30 seconds left, and then Graham Myers stopped a shot with about 10 seconds to go. He was the MVP. A lot of those kids went on to play college ball, and George Benson and John Bradley, started that program about.
Well, that's it. That's it right there.
Yeah.
You don't need a state title to uh, determine the success of a program, but certainly it felt like a full circle moment from when John Bradley and George Benson, you've written a number of stories about this, made that presentation to Croatan saying, "Hey, I think this school can use a lacrosse program. We can be self-funded. We can be successful." And they have had a lot of great years, but when this group came in, watching them take those first steps as freshmen, they were kind of what does he call them, Benson? Bobbleheads.
Oh, the bobbleheads, right?
They come in as bobbleheads as freshmen. They get bigger in sophomore, junior year. Or I think sophomore year they go to what, second round or something. Junior year they get close to the regional final.
Yeah, regional final.
And then you got to take that next step, and they certainly did. You couldn't script it any better.
No, it was awesome, and that game at the Durham County Stadium was it was a back and forth all night long, just a wild game. And man, to win it the way they won it, talk about just a script. I mean, you couldn't have written it any better. Awesome performance by the Cougars, and that's man, they're them and the girls who won a title a couple years before. They're making us become a lacrosse county all of a sudden.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like now you look at Croatan on a list of lacrosse programs, boys and girls in the state, and we are in the mix. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all we want to be is in the mix here. And side note, I'm just now realizing this as we're talking here. Great to get a Roth a state championship because I stand by. If COVID had not come in 2020, that
Oh,
Croatan girls soccer team with Allie Roth would have won a state title. And hey, that
yeah.
family did end up getting one, didn't they?
Nice. Yeah, I think they were 24-4 the
I
year
don't want to talk
before.
about it. They brought everybody back,
Brought
including I
everybody
can't
back.
remember the leading or the second leading scorer from her sophomore year who had missed almost her entire junior year was back. Um,
Man.
just an incredible. And then what? 3 games in, the whole world
It,
stops. And
if the Paperboys podcast would have existed back in those days, we'd have had
oh
Allie Roth,
man,
Kelly Haggerty, and Paul Slater on before the season started, talk about how that was going to be the year, right?
yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, man, I still, it's one of the biggest disappointments of my time covering high
Absolutely.
school sports. Absolutely.
COVID robbed a lot of people of a lot of things, and it definitely robbed
It
those
sure
girls of
did.
a
It sure
white
did.
place
And
state
you know
title.
what? It did give us a little gift the following spring. We had a state title soccer team. We had
Yeah,
a boys basketball team that went to the regional finals, West
yeah,
Carteret,
West Carter.
regional
Yeah,
semifinals.
yeah.
So the other side of things, it was nice, but I'll always regret what could have been with that team.
That definitely made us appreciate high school sports on a different level, didn't it?
Oh my gosh.
And for the fifth year in a row, and I
Oh,
know
it
it's
could only be you.
I know it's ho hum because it's 5 years in a row, but man, when as Big Trouble Captain Chris Daniels says, it's the Super Bowl and Christmas, and that's the Big Rock Blue Marlin
Yeah,
line,
it's
and that
not
is
ho hum. Yeah, imagine we're a podcast based in Southern Pines. What do you think our number one story is going to be every year? If you have one of the world's premier tournaments in that sport in your
right.
town, that's number one.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's just a boring tournament, which for some reason it never is, you're going to be number one or at least two or three. You're going to be the top
Absolutely.
three. And they had another. I mean, somehow I don't understand how it just always pays off with drama. You would think there'd be some. You'd think with law of averages, you just have some downer year where maybe not that many fish would be brought to the dock, or maybe the winner would come on the first day and nobody would do anything the rest of the week. But Smith's done a lot of drama lately, and this was no different. You had Chris Daniels, a Big Trouble, a 64-foot precision, and brought the only fish over 500. So he got the fabulous fishermen's, and the final day there was a lot that came in, so they had to sweat it out. Um, and then we had a story on the mates that was also a big deal, right?
That's right. Yeah, we had two. And I'll tell you what. You tell the story of how. Well, no, there's no need. Okay, no. We had
that,
we had
that,
two
that, that,
mates.
that, 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 that's a journalism podcast
That
story, right?
is, that is, that's a whole thing. It's when opportunity knocks and you are ready to answer the door, big things can happen. No, I mean, regardless of how the story happened, it was a fantastic story. You got Darren Cox, 23, Peter Wan, 37. Each of them had experienced different. Okay, sorry, these were mates on the winning boat. Each of them had experienced Big Rock heartbreak. Cox was on Sensation 2 years ago when their 619.4 pound marlin was disqualified due to shark bites. Juan was part of the infamous Citation 2010 disqualification over a missing fishing license. And, when you get that close and it doesn't happen, I imagine you don't think you're ever going to get that close again. Peter Juan had to wait, gosh, 15 years. Darren Cox had to wait two. But really fun to see two excellent anglers get a chance to find redemption.
Yeah, a couple of mates that have been, names around that people know, and man, that finally pays off for me. And you mentioned earlier that sometimes these gigantic fish in really quickly. That was 26 minutes after
Yeah,
after
yeah.
hookup, and it was really cool because Chris Daniels is
Who
a
we
local
had on
guy.
yeah, we had him on the podcast. A wonderful guy. You meet a lot of people that win this tournament or do well in this tournament, and they're all nice, but I don't know. Chris was very down to earth, and it was just you couldn't be happier for a guy to win.
Yeah, you want somebody to win that you can root for, right?
That's right. That's right.
The drama came down to, the Friday night. Looked like Southern Grace was going to win it. They brought in a
Mm.
654 pounder, but again, for that's the second time in 3 years disqualified over bites. I mean, I feel like we've never had that before. Now it feels like it's going to happen every year all of a sudden.
Well, and I think, as each thing happened, Big Rock is getting better at handling that situation too.
Yeah,
I was just telling that story to somebody this morning, actually, about 2 years ago at Sensation, and then last year was a much different situation. Southern Grace came in, Big Rock immediately said, "We're going to put it under
right.
review. We'll let you know in the morning." And I think now that the more that happens, the more people will understand the nuances of that rule as well, which is tough for the layman to understand why Top Dog's damage to its fish was from what engine burn from pulling it into the boat versus
Right.
something that took place during the fight. So it's part of the sport, and I think the tournament has done well to make it not the focal point and make sure that if you do win, that there are no I's that haven't been dotted, T's that haven't been crossed. Everything is in order.
And that was the drama continued. Saturday was the day that Big Trouble won. That was a super rainy day. The crowd was packed. They didn't care. They were under umbrellas and ponchos, and it didn't matter. It didn't dampen anybody's spirits for sure when they finally hit the first boat to hit over 500 pound to get that.
Saturday is always the day for sure.
Yeah, and
You
that
don't know
that
if you're
paid
going to
them.
get six fish in or one, and you're just waiting.
Yeah, what was it the year before we had a lot come in the final day, right? Was it three?
I think, I mean, I think I swear I covered a year where there were seven on the last day. Um, because what happened, especially it all depends, the tournament wants the first fish to come in to be a heavy one so that it
Mm,
sets the table for the rest of the week. When it's a small fish, or if the leaderboard is filled with fish that are small 500s or high 400s, that last day, if the captain is even remotely on the fence of how big that fish is, they're going to bring it in. It can set up for a shootout type of ending for sure.
that got Big Trouble almost $2.6 million as the numbers at Big Rock just keep going up and
Mm,
up and up and
mm.
up and up. And man, it was a big deal when somebody won $1 million. Now they're pushing three. It's crazy stuff.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Paler, college baseball umpire, and you are listening to Paper Boys Podcast.
We did a podcast last year where we did what we're doing now, where we look back, and then the next podcast we look ahead. We'll do that again next week, and just to look at the list that we had last year, looking ahead to 2025 of what we were. It wasn't our prediction of what was going to be the biggest stories of the year. It was what we were most looking forward to.
Sure.
And Mr. Nally's number one was Cannon McBride. Wanted to see
Yeah.
what he was going to do playing football after playing soccer. And man, that
Which
did
I
not
still had
disappoint.
people in June telling me Cannon McBride's not going to be the quarterback coach in football. I don't know what you're smoking, man. I'm telling you, that is happening. And what a great season.
So Cannon McBride didn't make the list solely, but the football team made number 3. So I think that paid off for you, what you were looking forward to. My number 1 was Croatan boys lacrosse. I thought they were probably going to win a state title, and they did. And that was
But I only
number.
had that as my number 4 because I felt like not that it was a given, but that it made the most sense to anticipate a state
Right. Yeah.
title.
Well, there's not much to look forward to when you know what's going to happen, right?
You know what I mean? Like it would be like like when we do this for I'm gonna go ahead and cheat here. When we do this for 2026, East Baseball is not going to be my number 1. Of course they're going to do well.
You're going ahead and engraving it on the trophy, right?
You know what I mean? I don't know if they'll win a state title, but
Right.
if they don't have a phenomenal season, it would be,
Yeah.
I'll say disappointment, but it is what it is.
The funny thing is, number 2 on both of our lists, we
I'm
did not
looking
make.
at that, and
Yeah, realignment.
realignment is on our list, and I'm not sure that I think because we weren't sure the impact it would have.
Well, I think we were looking at it more, macro over micro, I guess, or maybe micro over macro.
But
Where
I'm thinking about, reading the stories that you've written this year, me covering some football games. I
mm,
don't really feel like it had that big
no,
of an impact.
yeah, because we went from 4 to 8 classifications.
Yeah, and I mean, it gave some teams additional opportunities to win state titles, to go deep playoff runs. I mean, what was the sport where everybody had a first round bye?
Oh yeah, I mean the lower level, well, all the levels really, but especially the lower levels, man. Everybody's getting a bye.
And it's like, oh, they
It's
made the
like it's
third
like
round. Well, okay, they played one game though, so
right. Yeah,
uh,
that and plus of the entire year 2025, we only had the fall season of
that's
realignment, so
right.
that's still some more of that to play out. We both had county quarterbacks as our number 3 because it was a special year, and I did a real big story. It didn't make the top 10, but I did a real big story a little bit before the top 10 come out of just how special a football season this was, and quarterbacks played a big part. We've already mentioned Cannon McBride, Tanner Payne, who we just had on our
I was gonna
podcast.
say that's if you haven't already
Yeah,
listened to it, check that out.
that'll be
Division
coming
One, that's a
out.
lot of fun.
Yeah, Division One. We don't have a lot of Division One quarterbacks in Carteret County. I think 2 in the last 20 years. He's going to Elon, and then Luke McIntosh, who had a great career at
Mm.
East. It was just a fun season in Carteret County football. And then obviously, when you got the quarterback position taken care of, I think Luke was a third-year starter. Tanner was a second year, and then Ken ended up being first because you had different stories at every level. Just a really cool year. I had Big Rock number 4. You had, as you'd mentioned, Croton boys lacrosse 4. And then we had quite a few that didn't make the cut. We had a lot of girls basketball. West girls were going for their 4th straight conference
That
championship.
did not work out.
It had only been done once before in the history of West Carteret. They weren't able to make that happen. We were looking forward to West Carteret and Croatan girls hoops matchups.
Sure.
And we did have CCC on there, and that made the cut. And we did have the Marlins on there, not thinking it was going to be, are they going to be here anymore? It was, were they going to
Well,
get
I
back
think,
to
yeah, that's the impact of that program on the county. You have to have it on the list because it's the only thing above high school sports we have here, really.
Yeah, and they did not get back to their playoff success. So that was the thing we were looking forward to. They didn't make the playoffs after not making it the year before, and they had won 2. They'd gone to the championship like 3 years in a row or something like that.
Right, that's right.
They just had an amazing run. We've had Buddy Bingle on. We had Jeff Romer on, who was kind of their GM. He gets the players for them, and still they had a really good year. Just fell a little bit short. So we will do next week's podcast. We'll tune in for that. We will be looking ahead to 2026 and what we are most looking forward to. And before we go, we just want to say that we recently celebrated our 100th episode. When we started, we didn't know if we would do 10 of these, and now here we are, have done 100, which is pretty cool. So we have people to thank, and obviously number one is the listeners. We love being out in the community, and Zack's like I said, there at town of Newport, and you said some of our newest fans are working for the town of Newport.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's a lot of fun to even though I'm not a reporter anymore, to still get a chance to stay close to the world of high school sports in Carteret County and to get a chance to talk about it. And yeah, we just feel really grateful that we have this chance. I think somebody asked me the other day, they said, "Do you get paid for it?" And I said, "No, why would I get paid for it? It's something that we love to do. It's a chance for, it's a service. There's few people that are able to look at high school sports or sports in general in this county across a broad spectrum from a 1,000-foot view. Most of the people that know sports are really just focused on the program they're interested in or the sport that they are involved in. And we feel like it's a lot of fun to be the only truly local sports uh, opportunity to podcast here in this county. So we're just extremely grateful.
Yeah, it was always cool to be in the grocery store and have somebody come up to you and tell you they like a story you read. And now they come up and tell you they like a podcast episode you did.
Right,
so
that's
it's,
right. And of course, all of
really
it could not be possible without our producer, Mr. Ross here.
Ross Caraway.
Ross Caraway is our bread and butter. He is our guy, and we could not do this without the audio engineering that he provides for us. And again, this is something that we just kind of started at the paper, and the three of us sat down and said, what is it going to take to make this work? And it's not anything that is part of the job description. It's just something that is fun to do, and we just appreciate everyone's time that goes into making this happen.
Yeah, Ross has got plenty on his plate. He's producer for WTKF 107.1, the radio station that we also own in the newspaper, and he's got a lot going on. So to the fact that he was able to take this on and help us out, and there would be no Paperboy podcast without you. So
there would not be, that's true.
Super grateful to all y'all listening, and we'll see you next week for looking ahead at the top 10 stories we're looking forward to in 2026.